G'day ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to War Thunder Sim EC with Mags. So over the last couple of videos, a few of you have been complaining about the jet content. Look, I'm grinding jets for reviews at the moment, so that's mainly what I'm flying. And at 3 hours a match, I tend to only play a couple of matches a day tops. But don't say I don't ever do anything for you. Today we're flying out the BF109 G2 Trop, which has a Sim BR of 4.0. This is an EC match at 3.7 to 4.7 maximum. Now I'm not going over the specs of the G2, this damn thing has been in the game for as long as there has been one, and apparently my decals have been on it for about that long as well. The only thing of special note here is that I am carrying the external gun pods. As for why? Well, there were actually 2 kill the bomber objectives running at the same time when I took off, and my original plan was to try and clear them both. The enemy team just kept distracting me. And speaking of distractions, here comes our first one now. Now I've spotted a low altitude fast moving dot just over the trees. At this point I'm not entirely sure if it's friendly or an enemy, but a quick pass over confirms it is in fact an Arsender. Now at this point I have no idea whether or not the Arsender's actually spotted me as I passed over, but at the moment I do have a slight altitude advantage and I do have speed on, so what I'm doing is known as a wing over. It's a half loop that allows me to restrain my distance travelled while also taking altitude to dive back onto the target, either for an attack or to begin a chase with speed. Now as you can see, the Arsender did in fact spot us, turned back, which put us in the perfect position for a high speed pass, boom and zoom, first kill. And from here I can take the energy that we've just gained from the dive out of the wing over to take it back to altitude to prepare for any additional aircraft. Now this is always a good choice after a successful attack. Get back to altitude, get your energy back up, get back into a position to re-engage. And it was exactly the right choice here for me, because even though I haven't spotted them just yet, there's already several both friendly and enemy aircraft closing in on my exact position, and this is eventually going to turn into about a 10 aircraft brawl. The first 2 friendlies joined up with me almost as soon as I leveled out. One is a BF109 E3, the other is a fuck-off 190 Anton. And to be clear, I am not squatted up with either of these guys. They likely just vectored in on the tracer fire from my aircraft when I was engaging the Arsender, and just wanted to confirm that it was in fact a friendly that won that fight. And the reason for doing such checks, and in fact getting close enough to get the name tag to pop up, and in fact the existence of the name tag in War Thunder at all, is going to become very apparent in just a few minutes. And so with a few friendlies now in the area, it is time to re-engage, and I've got 3 fast moving dots in front of me. Now I know one of them is the 190 Anton, it dove ahead and rushed away. Now I am tracking that dot so I know which one it is, but I have lost track of the E3. However, last time I saw it, it went vertical and is now likely above me, so I'm not too concerned. So that leaves me with 1 target that I know and 2 that I don't, of 3 dots directly ahead. At this point I'm just checking left or right to make sure the area is clear for me to engage without pulling into somebody's guns. It is worth mentioning that I do have a slightly wider field of view than you can see inside of VR. Anyways, our first target is up, and it is another Arsender. Now I go for a deflection shot here, and I don't shoulder check, which I probably should have done. Unfortunately the shots fall slightly short, and a close cross with the E3. Thankfully we didn't collide or cross guns, and the Arsender has managed to reverse its turn. So a quick barrel roll over. This is to reverse my turn and drop in on the Ascender's 6, but it's braking hard as it's being engaged by both an Anton and a premium German P-47. So into the cross and into a high wing over once again to try and reverse myself around and drop in on the Arsender's 6. The Arsender, however, realizing it's in an engagement with 3 aircraft, has dropped flaps at this point, which is probably a smart move, and unfortunately with flaps down and the gun pods on, I'm not going to be able to keep up with this thing in a turn. So I follow it through for 1 more pass. I am trying to get onto its 6, but into the brake again, and I'm not going to be able to follow that, and I'm burning way too much speed. So instead of trying to follow, instead straighten out the nose, throttles up to maximum, and we're going for as much speed as we possibly can. You can see behind us here at the moment there is actually a little bit more than just our fight happening. Now I had spotted the other aircraft engaged in the fight around me. I hadn't taken the time to actually try and count out which aircraft were involved in what. However, high wing over, taking altitude, getting myself in position to turn back, and I'm starting to look for a new fight. Now I'm not necessarily looking for the Arsender again. I know there's an Anton and a Hitler Bolt that are already engaged with him. They're not likely to let him go anytime soon, so I'm looking for anything that I can find. And opening up the gap also did give us a beautiful view of this. Fresh 109F joins the fight, sees the Ascender, dives in, pulls the trigger to take the kill. Arsender says screw you buddy and pulls the trigger as well, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is why head-ons are bad even in Sim. But I don't have much time to think about that. I have a new target, and it is a 109F4. Why am I engaging a 109 F4 while flying a German aircraft? Well, that's because that is an American 109 F4. And this is why War Thunder Sim has markers for friendly aircraft when you get within 400 meters, because cross-nation premiums are absolute cancer. And speaking of cancer, here comes the German P-47. You seriously couldn't make this shit up. But anyways, I'm on the tail of the 109. I get a couple of shots in across its tail, enough to score myself an assist. The P-47, of course, rips it a new one with those 50 cals, and we get a beautiful explosion as the 109 hits the ground hard enough to actually bounce over the ridgeline. But don't worry, we're not out of aircraft yet. More enemy aircraft are just arriving. At this point, the brawl is actually getting rather large. I have 3 bogeys at medium distance ahead and to my left, 2 about to pass directly over me, and 2 off my right wing. So going for the ones that are passing over first. And we have a BTD-1 that's actually going for our P-47. So just a climbing bank to slot in on its 6 and take an attempt at trying to defend our Hitler Bolt. The P-47 pilot saw the attack coming in and pulls hard into the vertical. It's a big energy braking move, but it pulls him out of the guns to the BTD, and I do get a couple of leading shots there. Unfortunately, none connect, and unfortunately I wasn't paying enough attention to my own 6, and a P-38 drops in on my ass and rips me a new one. Unfortunately for him, he didn't kill me. So this fight's not over just yet. So P-38's in front, and I'm getting ready to slot in and begin the chase on him. Now I have taken some pretty significant damage. My control surfaces are pretty heavy at the moment, and I do have a fairly significant fuel leak, which will become important a little bit later. However, the P-47 has dove back in after dodging the BTD, and he takes out the P-38. Unfortunately, much like I did, he gets blindsided during the attack and gets taken out by a Spitfire. So, P-47 is now out of the match. We've got to get rid of this Spitfire before it engages us. Now the Spitfire pulls into the vertical. This is not something that I would have done in the Spitfire, not with its capabilities. And I get a lucky shot off there that actually takes out the tail control of the Spitfire. The pilot tries to hold it together for a little bit. I roll over to finish off the target and pop off a couple of shots, but once he realizes that he's not going to be able to pull out of the dive, he just jays out and pops his parachute. So, second kill of this engagement with 1 assist, and I was pretty happy to pack it in and go home at the moment. The plane is pretty knackered. I haven't actually realized at this point exactly how significant the fuel leak is. You'll see that again in just a moment. But before I did that, I wanted to just quickly check the aircraft that were in the area to make sure this point was under control. So just checking around, and I've spotted a dot directly above me, so I'm going to pull the aircraft into the vertical. I have enough speed on at the moment. We're going to pull up and just confirm that this is friendly, or if it's hostile, confirm that the aircraft above is friendly, and we've got a friendly A1 below, and I was just getting ready to roll out and head home, and in comes an F6F. Now, it's not going as fast as I would have expected. It was a pretty clean boom and zoom through there, but it doesn't have much speed on. I suspect it actually popped up from the tree line, which is why none of us actually saw it coming in earlier. Pop a couple of close shots, and it goes into a hard left, and I managed to score a couple of hits across the engine cowling. Throttle back to drop in on its 6, it reverses its turn, and then attempts to loop over and reverse its turn again, and cleanly take off the wing. And that is kill number 3, assist number 1 for this engagement. However, at this point, the damage to the aircraft is, well, rather substantial. That P-38 really did a number on me, and I'm out of ammunition in the wing pods, and I'm down to only 31 shells left in the nose cannon. But the bigger problem is actually my fuel situation. At this point, I've actually realized that I only have 1.5 minutes of fuel left in the aircraft due to the constant fuel leak. Thankfully, I'm not too far from an Allied runway, so time to take it home and call it a day. And not a second too soon, as I only have about 28 seconds of fuel left at this point, and I think I managed to make full stop on the runway with 18 left in the tank. Anyways, ladies and gents, I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed a bit of a more old school style breakdown. I had a few requests for these, so I thought I'd give a shot and see if I could resurrect one, but in the sim style. Take into account that this is just one engagement from takeoff to landing in what was a 3-hour-long EC with multiple takeoffs and landings the whole way through. So I've picked out one here, but you can see why I like playing EC at this point, because this kind of stuff happens all the time. Anyways guys, until next time, I hope you have a great day. Now bugger off.